As you mentioned, Shannon, protests have continued all across the country. Curfews were enforced in a lot of cities all across the country, but specifically what we saw in Minneapolis yesterday, and that was George Floyd's brother, Terrence. He went to the site where his brother was arrested and killed. He knelt down, he asked for peace, and he asked for others to use their voting rights for change. Shannon, how have you taken the last couple days, specifically yesterday, but what has been your reaction to what you saw yesterday from the protests, from George Floyd's brother, Terrence? What stands out to you?
Well, I think in some areas, Skip, we're starting to see the protests die down, and some of them are still raging on as over the last couple of days. I think when we go to Minnesota, I think the raw emotion of his brother coming and says, look, we're a peaceful family. Big George wouldn't want this. This family doesn't want this on our resume. Do this in a peaceful manner. And when it comes time to vote, we vote. Vote at the local level. Not just worry about the big picture and talk about the president, but you can do things at the local level that would ensure that justice be served. And I think I think in him doing that, him coming down there and him seeing, and they see the pain and the hurt in his face, and he's speaking on behalf of his brother. I think that quelled a lot of it, Skip. But if you see in these other places, you see in D.C., they were peaceful. And then the police still fired tear gas on them. They're like, well, hell, you said if we be peaceful, we could protest in a peaceful manner. But you're going to fire tear gas on us so the president can go get a photo op, hold a Bible upside down, and doesn't even go in and pray and just stand in front of it? What is that about? And then you see places, Skip, like Atlanta and New York, and I think a small pocket, maybe of Chicago. But these places, Skip, Minnesota's really not known for riots, Skip. You look at Atlanta and you look at New York, these are places that we've had riots pop up before. And the anger, and because it's still a heavy population of minority, Black and Latino Americans, so the frustration is still there, Skip. I pulled a quote, Skip, and you know, when I do stuff like we talk about things like this, I like to pull it and treat it like a court case. Is there any precedent? And Skip, when I went back and I looked at what LBJ said in 1968, Skip, remember now, he was president President Kennedy filled in for him, and then from 64 to 68, but he didn't run for re-election in 68. But while he was president after Dr. King was assassinated, and this was his comments, he said, what did you expect? I don't know why you're surprised when you put your foot on a man's neck and hold him down for 300 years, and then you let him up. What's he going to do? He's going to knock your block off. Skip, this is what we're seeing, is that for 400 years, and you see body after body, from Walter Scott to Athena Jefferson, Breonna Taylor, you see Big George Floyd. Skip, what did you expect? This was a powder keg. It was waiting to explode. They're waiting to see justice done, and they don't see justice. They see the commander-in-chief, and he's not trying to bridge peace. He's talking about law and order. He's talking about dominating the people. They're like, nah, we're not going to be dominated. We want to be heard. And we need you to talk about things, policies, what you're going to enact that can have our voices heard. Skip, I think the police are starting to get it. There's a sincere distrust. And you look at some of these chiefs of police that are out there, Skip, in the street, and they're listening, and they're taking a knee. And one of the protesters, I forget what city, Skip, told him, said, if you take a knee with us, we'll go home. He takes a knee, the rest of the guys take a knee, they shake his hand and they leave. That's the kind of trust, that's the kind of respect you want to have between police and community. But they got to be heard, Skip. They need to be heard. And so I do believe, because this is going on for almost a week, and normally, Skip, for the riots, they go on anywhere between 3 and 5 days. So this is going on a lot longer than what I think a lot of people anticipated. But the frustration and the anger has been there, and it's been there for so long. It was just waiting to explode, and when it did, it was uncontrollable. So hopefully, we're going to see this thing start to die down, and some real change can be enacted.
I hear everything you just said. My reaction to just yesterday, Shannon, I was troubled for all the reasons you just brought up. I also found some hope in things I saw yesterday and last night, and I'll get to those in just a moment. Obviously, as a man of faith, I was troubled by what happened outside the White House. Peaceful demonstrators took tear gas and rubber bullets, were dispersed, and this paved the way for our president to walk across, go nearby to St. John's Episcopal Church for a photo op, obviously, with, as you said, the upside-down Bible. Very troubling on many fronts. I don't want to get too New Testament biblical, but it went against everything that's in that good book. Now, I'm also troubled by all the abuse the policemen are taking all over the country. And I know this isn't maybe the right thing to say right now because we're all so raw about what happened in Minneapolis, but I do hurt for the policemen, the good cops who are just trying to do their jobs right now. And it is a tough job. Many of them have been injured. One got shot and killed in Oakland, and I believe he was a black federal officer outside the federal building in Oakland in a drive-by shooting. There have been all sorts of bricks and crowbars and screwdrivers and fireworks sort of bombs thrown at cops. Many have been injured. There were a couple in New York City and in the Bronx who got hit by cars. And I guess it was predictable, this backlash, but it hurts me to watch it. And to your point, Shannon, I'm great with the peaceful demonstrations going on, the peaceful protests, and I wouldn't mind seeing another couple of days of those. And yet the hopeful part of it was that yesterday, to my eye, the rioting subsided. I saw more peaceful protests yesterday than I saw rioting. The rioting led to widespread looting and burning. I saw less burning yesterday than I saw obviously over the weekend. Maybe that's a positive sign that people are getting their frustrations out. And most of the looting I saw last night, and I'm a little bit of a prisoner of watching the local LA television, Southern California, but the looting I saw was more systematic robbing. It was actually planned looting by people with getaway cars. So it wasn't just spontaneous looting. It was opportunistic looting of, let's go, let's feed off the protest. Let's sort of hang in the shadows of the protest. And when the police are distracted, let's go hit that store or that store or that store. And obviously I bleed also for all the store owners who have just been wrecked, just either burned or looted, maybe out of business. A lot of them mom and pop type shopkeepers who obviously did not deserve it. In the big picture, I told you yesterday, I have such mixed emotions because this outpouring is good for everybody. This frustration, this pent up outrage, just to spill it all out. I'm okay with that. I hate the casualties of it. I hate the collateral damage of it, but I'm barely okay with what happened for a period over the weekend. And now, to your point, Shannon, it subsides into more peaceful protests. So now allow me to go one other area with you. We talked briefly about this yesterday, and Shannon, I don't want to make too much of it, and please feel free to put me back in my place, that I'm babbling a bunch of idealistic nonsense here. But Shannon, just to my eye, I was, may I say, pleasantly shocked yesterday that in all the peaceful protesting I watched, I think I saw at least as many white people as black people in the protests. And obviously there are people of all colors, but it caught my eye that I was pleasantly shocked at how many white people were involved. And I saw many protests here in LA that I saw via local TV that were all white. And again, maybe you said yesterday, okay, where will they be in a month or 2 months or 2 years? Bingo, I'm with you. But this felt different to me than before, Shannon. And I told you 1 week ago this morning when we did the show the day after Memorial Day, the day after the George Floyd murder in Minneapolis by the white cop. And I told you how ashamed I was as a white man that this is happening again and again and again and again and again. But it happened again. That one was the most graphic. It was the most egregious. It was the most absolutely cold-blooded, evil killing of a black man I have ever witnessed on tape. And I saw it over and over and over and over again until I was sick to my stomach and I was ashamed. I'm always ashamed when these things happen, but that one got me the worst of all. I think it hit home with the white community, and the white community felt, dare I say, nearly as touched and outraged as black people felt, nearly, not the same, but nearly, where thousands and thousands of white people just wanted to go out and join with their black brothers and sisters and try to help and do their tiny little parts to at least march with them, protest with them, hold their arms up with them, maybe insult the cops with them. Whatever they needed to do, they wanted to be part of it. So help me out here. Maybe I'm overreacting, but it felt like a cultural shift where all of a sudden people the world round, white people, people of other colors other than black, were shaken by this, were so disturbed that their attention was riveted by this. And I've never seen that before. It didn't happen with Trayvon Martin or Eric Garner, or go back through all the litany, all the ones we talked about. I didn't get this sense that the white community had its eyes open and its throat grabbed by something that happened the way this one in Minneapolis grabbed the white community by the throat. And I do think going forward, it's going to have resounding implications on the positive side. And please feel free to tell me if I'm overreacting.
Skip, you're right. But if you remember what Ben Franklin said, he said justice will be served when those unaffected are as equally outraged as those who are. So who is outraged? We're outraged because it seems to keep happening to us at an alarming rate. Considering that we are the minority, it seems these deadly confrontations seems to be happening with us. And Skip, you're right. And if more people felt like you to become embarrassed, to become ashamed, Skip, when I see someone of my race do something bad, I'm like, damn. I'm automatically thinking they're going to say everybody's just like that. But see, you felt like you're embarrassed. Not enough people of your color feel like that. Well, that's him. That's not us. I didn't do it. Because, see, so many times that's an isolated incident. That's a bad apple. As opposed, okay, how many bad apples do you need in a bunch before you have to throw the entire bag away? And see, that's what we're seeing is that, Skip, if you remember in Seattle, there was one cop, they were arresting a guy, and guess what he did? He had his knee on the guy's neck, just like what killed George Floyd. And one of the other officers knocked his knee off. Like, man, what are you doing? We see in New York, Skip, the crowds, and we see 2 police vehicles drive through the crowd. I'm like, are you serious? Do y'all not know the world is watching and you're still doing this? And that's what people say, see, I told you. This is how they are. They get angry, they get upset, and they go overboard. So, Skip, I do believe you're right, because if you look at the Netherlands and you look at Germany and you look at around the world, they're saying, I can't breathe. They're calling out George Floyd's name. So, yes, this seems to be different than Trayvon. This seems to be different. Although Eric Garner was the first one to have the T-shirt, I can't breathe, there wasn't the uprising. There wasn't the rebellion that we see in George Floyd. I think, Skip, because we see a man's knee on a guy's neck, he's telling you, same thing as Eric Garner. But, you know, and they're like, well, he was doing this. I'm like, come on. How long must you cut a man's air supply off before you control the situation? The man is unconscious for 3 minutes and you don't move. And you have a glib smirk on your face. Like, yes. And remember, Skip, we talked about it yesterday. The police is the law, but they feel they are above the law because the Supreme Court has given them great latitude. A threat, be it real or perceived, And what was that officer thinking at that moment? Not 20/20 hindsight, not as he sits back and readjusts it. At that moment, Skip, that's huge latitude. Just imagine, Skip, you're in the grocery store and you're like, man, I think he's going to do something to me, so I'm going to do something to him first. Boy, that would be an outlaw society with this, Skip. That's the old Wild Wild West, the quick draw. Who got the fastest draw? That's not what our society should be like. But, Skip, we need people in higher places to talk about uniting and bringing people together, not pushing us apart, because you don't fire on. You said you like peaceful. Everybody said they like peaceful. Well, Dr. King was peaceful, and he still got hosed. He still had the dogs turned loose on him. You know what I'm saying, Skip? So he still got hit upside the head. Okay, we want peaceful. They're peaceful out in front of the White House, and you fire tear gas on them because you want to do a photo op, because you want to show a sense of strength. You were in the bunker on Friday. How strong are you? You down in the bunker, protected, with 50, 60 Secret Service. Stop. So, Skip, I do believe, hopefully, as we can get a grassroots program and we can vote, Skip, I understand the president's one thing, but you can do things at the state level, state representatives and state senators and county commissioners, and you can put DAs. Okay, they don't want to prosecute cops. Put a DA in there that will. Put someone in there that's going to pass legislation that's going to give citizens rights also. Put people that's in there that's going to have a review board of the police. So, Skip, there are things that we can do, that we can put in place to assure that we're going to have our voices heard and we won't continue to have situations like this. Now, it's going to happen again, Skip. There was a situation last night, 2 nights ago in Louisville. Somebody got killed. I think he was a shop owner, Skip. And not one cop had their body camera on. Now, what do you think, Skip?
No, they did not.
You would have your body camera on. So why you have the camera? If you got a body camera, if you ain't going to turn it on, that's the whole purpose.
But they did fire the chief of police over no body cams being turned on. So go ahead. Yeah.
Yes, Skip, but he was retiring in 2-3 months anyway. So they just sped up the process. But nobody got a body camera on, not one person. That's the whole person that they give you the body camera, Skip. It's so that you can turn it on, so you can protect you. It happens, as you said it did, but it can also protect the citizen. So it can say, okay, nah, that's not what happened. Check his body cam. But ain't nobody got no camera on. Nobody. So there again, Skip, the distrust is there to like, well, hold on, how you going to be out in a situation like this? This would be the ideal time for you to have it on because you want to make sure you and the citizens are protected. And so, Skip, there's still a lot of distrust. This thing is going to take some time. But we want these policies to start immediately, to start making changes. I think the chiefs of police, they understand, Skip. There is, well, it's not some, no. The black community is sincerely distrustful, cynical, skeptical of police. And for the longest time, because, Skip, that was the thing that they used to keep you in line. I'm going to call the police. I'm going to tell the police on you. So you start that at a very young age, and then you see things which makes you fear, I really should be afraid of them.
Thank you for watching. You can subscribe here to get the latest from the show, and be sure to check out more of the best clips from Undisputed, or go watch a few other segments from our other shows on FS1.